For those of you who do not know, I am teaching a character voice acting class for closing credits. Link will be in the description. But as of right now, the class is 100% full. There was only 13 seats, and it's all full. But there is going to be other classes later on, and also sometime in the near future, we are talking about doing kind of a twice a week class. But we'll see. We'll see. But for those who may be seeing this too late, and it's all full up, just letting you know, there will be other classes. So it's all good. It's not a one-time thing. So it's fine. It's fine. Alrighty, hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today, I actually wanted to talk about variation in your takes. This is actually something that's been coming up a lot, and I've actually been talking to a lot of people about it. And it seems to be something that a lot of people have really needed some sort of information or coaching or some techniques on. And it is something that I am working on some sort of worksheet for that is probably going to be presented in a lot of my coaching or any of my classes that I do down the line. But basically, as of right now, there really isn't anything. If there does end up being something that I can hand out or you can download, it'll be in the link or it will be in another video. Who knows? But as of right now, don't really have anything. But I do know what it is, how to present the idea to y'all, and kind of the kind of practice that you could use to get better at doing multiple takes. Now, the idea of multiple takes and having variety in your takes is not only for for auditions, but is also for doing the actual project as well. For example, you'll see a lot of auditions that'll give me an A and a B. So meaning you'll do the entire script in one take, one version, and you just entire script in another version. But with a lot of people, most of the time, they basically just do the exact same thing twice, which doesn't help you. It doesn't do anything for the casting director or the agent or whoever. So if you can't actually add variation, just send them one take. But the idea of sending variation, the idea of sending two takes, is to showcase range and to show the potential client or the casting director or director or whoever that you can do a variety of, they have options with you. That if they cast you and they give you direction, there's a better chance of you getting closer to the thing that they wanted. Now, it's not that you have to, I've heard from a lot of people that the fear is, well, if there's only one way that the writer or the director or the casting director or whoever has in mind for the way this line should be delivered, why should I do two? And the idea of doing two is not so that you have a better chance of, one of your takes being the one that they had in mind, because there's a really good chance, at least from what I know, from all the different casting directors that I've talked to, all the different agents, and from doing a lot of casting myself, is that a lot of times they may have an idea in mind, but it's not a deal breaker if you don't do exactly the thing that they had in mind. This is one of the whole reasons that we cast, is to see what else could be out there, what other options, what other possibilities. A really good director, a really good agent is going to take advantage of you as an individual and your skills. Especially as a director, we want someone that can do something that isn't like what any of the other actors can do. We want someone to deliver a performance that's going to be unique from the other characters and to give us unique versions and unique takes on these lines, because we want the character to stand out. We want these characters to be unique. We want them to be different. If we didn't want them to be different, they would just be the same character, just delivering extra lines. Or, they would all just be the exact same character, or possibly all just performed by the same voice actor. But we want options. We want to see what you can come up with. And we want to see how creative you are. That's why we want multiple takes. And so your first take is normally going to be your closest approximation to what you can discern from the information given in the script or in the audition lines or the audition information. Whatever you can gather, the best, closest approximation that you can get. This is as close as I think of what you're putting down on paper, what I think you want. Here we go. Your second take needs to be wild. It needs to be crazy, and it needs to be nothing like your original take. And now I'm not saying, if there's no cursing in the first one, curse like a maniac in the second one. I'm not saying that. And I'm not saying do an impression that, like do your Christopher Walken impression. That has nothing to do with the character or the performance or the project at all. It still needs to be within the vague confines of the project or the character or the scope, but it needs to be more extreme. It needs to be more exaggerated. It needs to be more bizarre or more insane. If the character is insane or the character is emotional, go to the extremes. If the character's sad, give an earnest, honest performance at first that's genuine and sounds believable and sounds real, if that's what they're going for. And then your next one, go over the top. Go wild with it. Go crazy. Sound like you're in hysterics, that you're losing your mind. It doesn't always have to be just a different voice. Sometimes it can just be such a departure from your original audition or your original take that it really shows them between these 2 points, if they like this one and they like this one, but neither of these are what they were actually going for. Anything in between, I can do. That's basically what you're showing them. That anything between the wild and anything between the more grounded, you can do. Now, not everything is going to need a grounded or a more believable or down-to-earth performance. Sometimes the character is wild and crazy, and both takes need to be wild and crazy, but you can go in different directions. You can make them crazy in different ways. But the takes need to be different. They need to be very, very different. And here's a couple examples and how this has benefited me. Now, obviously, I do a lot of variety in takes when I do a lot of video games. A lot of video games, they request that you do multiple takes so that they can. Often there'll be basically a code or an algorithm where if a character's hurt, it'll choose one of a couple options for these sound bites. So the character's not just making the same noise over and over and over again. So you give them multiple takes, so it adds variety to the character getting hurt. So it's not just an echo or it's not just repeating the same sound. So that's one of the reasons that in a project, they want a variety of takes and they don't want them to sound the same. So, you'll often have to do like anywhere between 3 and 10 different versions of you getting hurt or dying or doing different kind of effort sounds or attacking or whatever, screams. And they just want a variety and they cannot sound the same. They have to all sound very different. Still be emotional, still be within that same ballpark of the emotion, but they need to all sound different.
That's it. We're here. I've never seen anything like it. That's it. We're here. I've never seen anything like it. That's it. We're here. I've never seen anything like it. That's it. We're here. I've never seen anything like it. Yeah! 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 Power's down, Commander. Let's get to the temple. Power is down, Commander. Let's get to the temple. Power's down, Commander. Let's get to the temple. Power is down, Commander. Let's get to the temple. Power's down, Commander. Let's get to the temple.
And so that's one way in an actual practical project sense that they are, that kind of thing is needed. That's a real world example. In other examples, you may do a variety of takes just to give the director options. They're still only going to be choosing one, but you're giving them multiple takes. There's a lot of kids shows, and just cartoon shows in general, that I'm not being live directed. I'm not getting any kind of feedback off the other actors. They're just sending me the script. I'm recording it on my end. I send it to them, and they piece it in. And so I do a variety. I give them options, normally in between 3 and 4 takes. And sometimes even more if it's a much smaller line, just because there's significantly less context. And so I want to give them the right version. But if you give them options, if you give them, a grounded, a wild, a slower, a faster version, then it's easier for them to choose from that the best take that will fit in with the other actors that you weren't there for, that you weren't there to feed off of. And so those are some real world practical, applications to a variety of takes. And when it comes to auditioning, both of my roles in Smite, in the kind of PvP team capture the flag kind of game. I haven't played it, but both of my auditions were basically, I landed those because of my showing a variety of takes, showing options. So one of the characters that I did it's an alternate skin to Baba Yaga, and it's the King Bean character. And in the audition, the character was supposed to be a cartoon. He's supposed to be over the top and exaggerated. And they give references to like Roger Rabbit or Daffy Duck. Those are the references they gave. And so the first take, I went with my Daffy Duck. I'd done Daffy Duck before. And so I went with my closest kind of version of Daffy Duck with that kind of lisp. I wasn't doing an impression or a sound-alike of Daffy Duck, but it was very, very similar. Like, this is kind of what you went with. This is kind of what I'm throwing you, and still trying to do the lines and add a little bit of original flavor, but it's very, very close to what they had on paper. For the second take, I said, ignore the reference. It's not Daffy Duck, and it's not Roger Rabbit. I'm not going to do those. So what are my other options? Well, so the key point was to be over the top, cartoony, goofy, silly, and it was clear that they wanted some unique vocal elements, whether it was a lisp or whether it was that kind of stuttering or anything like that. So I was thinking of the characters that, I do, or voices that I like. And so I went with something that was very similar to kind of the Mad Hatter from the Disney's cartoon Alice in Wonderland, or kind of like King Candy kind of thing. And that was basically what I sent them. It's not what they had on paper. It's a bit different, but it still has multiple of the elements that they were looking for. Cartoony, over the top, crazy, zany, silly, that kind of stuff. And it wasn't the reference, but it was within that ballpark. And I made sure that the lines were said completely differently. And that's what they went with. That's the version. Now, of course, in the directing session, because they heard me do the one that was closer to Daffy Duck and the one that was more like King Candy kind of thing from Wreck-It Ralph, we ended up going with something that was kind of like slightly in between. That was something a little more Roger Rabbit, but with that kind of, hoo-hoo, yes, of course, that kind of thing. So that's what they ended up going with. But it was because I gave them two very different options that still fit within the majority of what they were asking for, that I showed them that I can do a variety of things, that they can throw ideas at me, they can give me direction, and they can pull out different performances, and I can tailor it to best fit what it was they were looking for. And so that is key. That was important. And so the general idea of getting better at doing a variety of takes is, well, here's the practice, rather. Here's the idea. Now, again, I don't have anything to present to you. There's no visual yet. But here's the idea. Here's what I want you to do. This is your homework. I want you to, whether it's a Word document or whether it's on your phone or it's an actual pen and paper, doesn't matter, take any 1 to 3 sentence line, anything that's a couple sentences. It can be anything. Literally anything. It just needs to be relatively long enough that it's, enough to work with here. And yeah, I need you to take that line, whatever it is, take the 1 to 3 sentences and copy it 3 times. So you have 3 total versions. So the first version, the first line, copy of the line, I want you to just read whatever comes natural. The first thing that comes to your mind, however you would naturally read that line, however you would naturally read it. And I want you to record this, by the way. I want you to record yourself. And so record yourself, read that line first time, just however it naturally comes to you. It could be, and again, this could be anything. This could be a character's line. This could be a slogan from something. It could just be taken out of like an e-learning or informational. Doesn't matter. It literally does not matter. So you read that first time, natural, what comes to you. Second time, I want you to read it absolutely insane and do everything that you wouldn't normally do with that line. So if it's got periods and not exclamation points, I want you to read it as if it has exclamation points. I want you to basically scream it, start out with a laugh, read it scared. However, whatever is not natural in that line, okay? Whatever is not what would easily be discernible within that line, within the context of the words. Forget the context. Just now you're reading it insane. Do something wild. Do something crazy. Cry, scream, yell. Do it as a Shakespearean play. Try to sing it. Whatever. Do something insane. And then on your third take of that, do something in between. Something that is halfway. Shut your mouth. You shut your mouth. You shut your mouth. And then after that, do something that is halfway between the two. Something that is halfway between whatever your calm, natural read is and insane. Something that's emotional, but not that extreme. And then I want you to listen back to them and notice the difference. What you will notice, if you're doing this right, if you're going to the far enough extremes on the second take, is that it's going to be a lot easier for you to put in pretty much any emotion, even within the context of the line, on the third take. Because you've now stretched the boundary on the second take. So reeling it back in is going to be a lot easier. So it's going to give you that kind of flexibility. So that's the first practice. There's 2 of these. That's the first practice. And again, I want you to record these so you can listen back to them and get used to this. Now, the second thing is I want you to, and this could be different lines. This could be a different collection of sentences, again, 1 to 3 sentences, or it could be the same one. It's totally fine. But on another page, another piece of paper, another page, what have you, again, copy it 3 times. Copy it 3 times. Then I want you to read it the first time. Again, completely and totally natural. Read it however it best comes to you. Whatever comes natural, whatever feels right, whatever fits the context of the words. Just read it as is. And then I want you to go through and I want you to make notes about how you read that. Listen over it. What words did you put emphasis on? Did you put emphasis on this word? Did you put emphasis on this word? Did you up in the sentence? Did you down in the sentence? Did you fade off on the sentence? Did you start strong? Did you start soft? How quickly did you run through it? Did you say it really, really fast? Say it really, really slow? That kind of stuff. I want you to make all these notes, which is something that I'll be working on the actual worksheet in the future, is kind of giving you some ideas for how to make jots and notes and stuff like that. But take those notes. Jot them down, write them, highlight them, however you got to do it, whether it's in digital or analog. And then, on the second take, read it again, but don't do any of the exact same things. None of them. So if you down in the sentence, up in the sentence, or fade it out. If that makes sense, if you understand what I'm talking about. If you started strong, start soft. If you went fast, go slow. If you put emphasis on this word, put emphasis on this word. If you read it happy, read it angry, sad, scared, what have you. And write all those notes down. Write all that down. So then when you go to the third one, again, do it completely different from the first two. So if you already did an up end and a down end sentence, you do a fade out sentence. Fade out on the end. If you put emphasis on this word or this word, put emphasis on a completely different word. If you started strong, if you started weak, just kind of like, kind of come in, kind of like somewhere in the middle, whatever that is. If you went fast or you went normal, then you go slow. If you read it happy and you already read it mad, read it sad or read it scared, all that. Completely different. Now, these practices, these are not exactly the things that you will be doing on an audition. Meaning, you will not be reading an audition with a completely different emotion, generally speaking. But the idea here is to break you out of your boxes, to get you out of the sameness, the kind of doing the same thing over and over again, the kind of being comfortable in a very small, tight, confined space. That's the idea. It takes a while to get used to the infinite number of options that you have available to you as far as how to read a line. But there's a way of fast-tracking that familiarity with the options by just doing literally every single option and just getting really comfortable with doing something that may not feel natural to you, may not feel normal. But that's the idea, to get out of that feeling normal. Because to play a character, especially when we're talking character work, to play a character, even though you are being true to yourself in many ways, you are displaying emotions the way you would display emotions, you're still not 100% you. And you still need to be a character that isn't you. You're going to be asked to be a bad guy. You're going to be asked to be someone who's incredibly scared or incredibly strong or something that, you just don't 100% empathize with or don't have any real world experience with. That's totally fine. But you need to be able to do the things and be the characters that aren't normal, that aren't natural, that maybe don't feel comfortable all the time. Now, I don't mean forced to be characters or read lines that make you genuinely uncomfortable, as in like saying things or being a part of projects that you genuinely do not support or are not for. But what I mean is getting out of your box, getting out of your comfort zone. And that's the idea. Those two practices, I want you to take both of those. Again, record yourself, listen to yourself, and listen back to it. And keep trying. Keep doing it. Anytime you have free time, keep doing that. Keep trying it. If you have an audition, do a couple extra versions before you actually officially start recording. Do a couple versions just off the books and just go crazy with it to really kind of loosen yourself up. I mean, you should be familiarizing yourself with the script and the context before you record anyway. So you might as well kind of flex and stretch and get comfortable with it before you actually hit record. Might as well do that. But yeah, that's pretty much it. That's what I've been getting from a lot of people as far as feedback, that's something that they need help with. And I hope this helps you. Again, my goal is to make a lot more kind of worksheets and things that y'all can work with and y'all can take and do. But as of right now, I don't. But just do those things, those two things. Write that stuff down, any sentence, any line. Record it 3 times. Really stretch your boundaries. Really stretch, kind of flex, kind of work it out. Get comfortable with it. And yeah, it's gonna be it. So thank you guys for watching. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. Totally fine. Subscribe if you're new, bell for notifications, and leave down the comment section below. Like to see me cover any other topics, have any questions, totally fine. Again, links to the class will be down below, as well as if you want to contact me directly, my email is down below as well. And yeah, it's going to be it. So until next time, peace.